World Health Organization says that sexual exploitation and abuse is a fundamental failure of protection. This stands true as it relates to exploitation of students sexually. It also constitutes abuse in tertiary institutions. Say What organization, with the support of UNFPA through Spotlight Initiative, has been addressing this problem in our tertiary institutions. So welcome to The Lens, the show that talks about students' issues and the youth, especially in tertiary institutions. And today I am flanked by beautiful people. And I will start by honoring ladies. I will ask the young lady to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. My name is Chida Mawide and I'm a student.
Lovely.
My name is Sifso Skogo and I'm a student.
Absolutely. I love the fact that we also have male students. It's always representation is everything, male and female students. So I want you young people to tell me what you understand by sexual exploitation. As we have had in the introduction, that who actually says when there is sexual exploitation, it is a sign of failure of protection. What's your understanding of the concept?
I think for me, to sum it up, it's when a person is taken advantage of.
Right.
Despite their gender, but it's done in a sexual manner.
Right.
Sort of like there's inclusion of harassment and certain advancements being done to you without your consent that are in a sexual manner.
Right.
I think I would wrap it up like that.
So is this something that is happening to female students only, or it's a female and male student problem? And maybe if you can also give it your own definition.
I would like to say that sexual exploitation is happening both ways, either you're male or female. And then, like she said, it's someone with a higher rank or someone who has an advantage or leverage over you, taking advantage of you to gain sexual benefits. And then also so that you're entitled to offer them, or you have no choice, or you're forced, or you're drawn to your corner to or mandated to do that. And it's happening both ways, with the greater percentage obviously on the girl child, but I would like to say also us males, we're also in trouble.
I would just actually then want to understand how this trouble is coming about. You actually rightfully put it to say you feel like this is something that happens when you feel like you're put in a corner or you do not have an option to come out of something. What do you think are the root causes of sexual exploitation, especially for the boy child? Makona acho anobva kupi, ma situations anofamba sei kuti zoti munhu amukona mekuti sexual hana anything to do but they are sexually exploited, because we also need to understand from the viewpoint that we are talking about it in the context of tertiary institutions. In my tertiary institutions, you are now adults. We expect you to be able to understand kuti abuse. You hardly find there a few young people. Yes, of course, we have my outliers and end up university before their 18th birthday, but for the most part, my students are tertiary, are above 18, and we expect you guys to know kuti abuse to even within your own senses. Nekuti makatokwanisa kuenda kuchikoro, you to know zvinhu zvamuri kuzvisa mega here makona aya muri kumacreate sei. Nimbonza kuna Sifiso ndisandauya kuna.
Alright, so jari ku university zvakaoma pane pasina mari. So I think money is the most first encounter. I would say into kutokanganisa vanhu kuti you need money. Saka kuti uite mari ucha exploit so waexploitwa wawana mari, so it now becomes firstly it now becomes good, it's a need, you need it, but later on I would like to say it becomes a trend kuti yes, you are in need of the money, but now wakutonoti the money is coming, so you now use that as an scapegoat.
Saka, you need money, mari maparents asikukupa here imari yakakwana uchienda kuchikoro kana kuti kuda kwezvinhu chaiko chaiko kuti tatogutsikana nelife yamunayo kumba kwenyu?
I think social culture, because that you're trying to meet up the needs of the next person next to you, and A, B, C, D, and then also peer pressure also. You are also having a girlfriend, I don't know, A, B, C, D, and now wapinda mkwenda.
Saka, okay, I'll come back to you, so I really do not want to seem like my lovely. The girl child, how does sexual exploitation and abuse look like for a young girl or for a young woman in a tertiary institution? And maybe you can also touch it from the perspective of where is it coming from? Is it coming from school authorities? Is it coming from fellow students? Is it coming from mukufamba umu mababa chikoro? Maybe if we can just be clear kuti ishirikubva kupi zvinizvi.
It's safe to say all the scenarios you mentioned, it's happening. Muchkoro from college authorities, you know, the tie for a mark thing. I want marks.
It's real?
It's real. I want marks. That's the other thing. I think when I don't turn down university and mentality either there's an option. Obviously I'm gonna study hard, there's books, there's everything, I'm gonna get marks.
Yeah.
But then there's an easier way. Give my thighs, get marks. So those kind of mentalities. And then there are also issues where wabuda kunzoku kumbawa jaira kufamba wakafeka your shorts, your mini skirts and stuff like that. But the moment you leave the campus, you leave the premises of the school, out there are vultures who are waiting for you just in those short things. They start insulting you, wakashama. That's my way of living. That's how I'm used to being clothed. When I go out there, I start getting harassed for something I grew up like a faker. So it ends up not being my fault. I now have to adjust to what society wants me to dress like so that I don't get abused. You get? And then amongst it, abuse. Now some people take advantage of each other. One is that this person is vulnerable and they need such and such. Therefore, I can go to them and say, you know what, you want this? Just give me 1-2 few rounds and then you have what you want. So it's there in all the scenarios. It's actually there.
So I just want to come back to the issue of authority. You come to university, you have two options. You say that you're going to make it by studying hard or you're going to band. A couple of questions there. So you guys, you young ladies, are making a decision to put yourself in danger. In certain instances where watoita zvako lazy kuverenga wakauya kunoverenga wakauya kunodzidza wakutadza here zvawakafambira, can we then call that exploitation, or you are setting yourself up in a position? Because nyama tiri kutaura nyaya dzemafundamentals of yataurwa yatavhura nayo kuti sexual exploitation we consider it's being considered as a point of failure. So for example, for tertiary institutions, so would we call that exploitation when a student simply is lazy to study, and then you go and make a deal because you're above 18 and you approach a male leader, a male teacher at the university, moita madiri hasi madiri guys, because toda kuti separate between real exploitation. So my other question was going to say, muri kuzvisa here muma positions kana kuti teacher anogona kutokupimba iwewe anditi okuti ndokuda woramba okupanisha ndo that could where you are not willing, for me, my understanding would then constitute exploitation. I need you to help me understand that.
Okay, thank you so much for raising that up, because all the situations I'm again are happening. Even back through to high school, that was their way of getting to the top.
But I can't pass as him sexy. Through Akatonza A level and qualified.
I also say I don't go from my street to but the situation I think for me what then qualifies as exploitation is an authority. I'm acting in local parentis. so azviita kuti ndinoapproacha ndimbereki wako pachikoro, and I'm acting like your father, I'm like your mother. You can come to me with problems, you can come to me and say, Mr. Ningi ndaface kana challenge yakadai. So you know that more than a student, I can also treat this child as my son or my daughter. But then you have the audacity to go to that very same person and say, you know what, if you give me your thighs, I'll give you a distinction.
No, zvasiyana kana mwanasikana kuti toda kuseparata pane ma-issues. I need to understand, because my viewers edu, they are thinking the same way kuti we must be, because nanchida kutsanangura kuti patiri kuti failure pepe ma-rights enyu ekuti muprotectwe pachikoro anouya ne-responsibility. Kana it's your responsibility kuti wakabva kumba kwenyuko chiti ndova pauniversity kunodzidza, kana iwo wakurelinquisha the need yekudzidza iwewe, zvinorevei wakuita lazy, wakuda kungopiwa mamarks kavo. Of course, I'm not saying what my school authority is, because I want to believe that a teacher or a lecturer who does that is already operating under illegal basis. It's unethical to even negotiate with a student. I want to believe that. But I'm also saying there is the responsibility to your students that you have to protect yourself. To also, corruption. It takes two to tango.
We have a role to play as students.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like you mentioned before, it's about responsibility. I have rights, yes, but I can't just preach I have rights without actually acknowledging that I play a part in that equation of my rights being acknowledged. And I think for where there's a choice, you need to make the right decision.
Absolutely.
Bukuru no verengwa. And the degree no one pass. They are working hard for me to actually get somewhere, but I can't choose to take the easier route out simply because I want that degree. Because at the end of the day, yes, I'm giving my thighs out, but the experience and just no one out there, the work that I need to do out there, my thighs won't do that work for me.
Absolutely.
So I think it's about responsibility.
And I also just want to touch on the issue you're addressing that you mentioned, yes, your abuse around the issue of dressing. So you're saying maybe you've got a way that you dress at college, which probably is not a problem at home. But I want to believe kuti kumba konogara kwa kuno location my poto mchibuda mchinda town. So I'm also thinking imima moscoso zvinyanyere vana veku university kuti zvinozoshamisa kuti wakakura kubva grade 1 kusvika form 5 form 6 uchifamba musociety kana uri kuti hembe dzenyu dzamaipfeka kumba ndo dzawakakura uchipfeka sezvakuzoshamisa muchibva patertiary institution magumina mutown hamusi kuzvinyanya here vana vekutertiary because ndonyaya dzemari. Please, you're welcome to chime in. Let's have this open-minded and.
Right, near dressing, I would like to say near dressing, although tributed dressing isn't it good now? Takutsoka ku mindset yekudhara kuti zvakashata, but if you see kuti we're now moving in the time frame, things are changing.
Things are changing between time semester yawabva kumba, because she's claiming kuti hembe dzanopfeka kumba ndodza akakura chipfeka saka kumarukesheni kwaanogara kana kuti koko achimbopota chino zvasiyanei
zvakuzodipenda yari. Inini ndakakura ndichigara, I'll just give an example. Ndakakura ndichigara kana muBrookmeme, kwandingatoti it's an outside place and maybe per village by pen.
So what's happening in town?
I have no choice. A different environment altogether. So learning to adjust. I was that you something that's this long. Short. Because the moment I try and bend over, people see what they're not supposed to see. But for me, this is the longest that sis has, I can't go longer than this kind of stuff. So it all depends now on what's viewed as the correct dressing in society. Cover everywhere.
No, I think I'm not probing so much because not because I want to really team justify abuse. No. I think I'm just simply saying that there is a responsibility in dressing. But Fiso, before we go on break, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, because if we go back on the drawing board, we are saying, I think you defined sexual exploitation as in someone having a leverage over you. So Truguti, let's distinguish sexual exploitation. I wouldn't want to say kuti pane yekuzvitsvagira neimwe iripo. Let's just stick to sexual exploitation. We are saying, for example, in a higher authority, ask out a girl child, aramba, vamfoirisa, and then azosvika pastage yekuti, you know what, if I have to pass this module, ndozvatoko, because at the end of the day, ukakera ka2 zvatako. So saka unotoona kuti ndaedza kuruya kuti unatsoziva kuti kuerenga ndiri kuerenga, but now this ndozvitoripo. And then awo contributing factors ekuzoti dressing, someone other easy way out, etc. Those are now
these are not the key issues here. Yeah. The key issues are those who are exploiting. It is so powerful when it is other young people, but most importantly, if it's young men who can actually articulate the issues of vulnerabilities, the issues of exploitation that young women especially face. We are going to come back and understand even deeper what young men face. Are there female teachers or lecturers who are actually saying, putting young men on the spot? But even now, we want to come back and explore the circumstances. I think, as Fiso is very right to say, those are the minor cases that you hear of dressing, of maybe a young person going to strike a deal with a lecturer. But the real issues are of those lecturers who actually make it difficult for a young woman to pass, demanding a relationship. We're taking a break. Don't go away. Stay with us. Welcome to the second segment of this show, The Lens, where we are talking today about sexual exploitation in tertiary institutions and issues of abuse. And the young people who were here already touched on the circumstances that young people find themselves in, where a lot of it is involuntary. I think Spiso actually cautioned us that we must not look at the issue of sexual exploitation as something that someone volunteers into. For the most part, these are young people who find themselves very vulnerable. And I think we reiterated earlier on that World Health Organization identifies the issue of sexual exploitation as an issue of social protection failure. And it was emphasized that when a student is at university and they find themselves in a place of vulnerability, what they're expecting from their school authorities is a help that is not attached to strings. And anyway, before I keep going on and on, I have young people in the studio who are joining us again. You guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Okay, I'm Tanaga. I'm a student.
And I'm Titi. I'm a student as well.
Absolutely. So, Titi, would you say you guys are being sexually exploited in universities?
Yes, I am being sexually exploited. This is not because it's something that I faced personally, but because the other girl child I know of is facing the same situation. So then it becomes my issue, my problem, because I'm a girl as well.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking out, when is it going to happen to me?
Wow.
When am I going to face the same situation? What am I doing to help the person who's gone through it? What am I doing to stop it from happening to the next girl? So yes, I am, and it's very sad to talk about, honestly, because it hits home. I have been a peer educator since I was in first year. I have talked to girls. I have met many different people from around, institutes in Harare or all over them. So the issues I hear or the situations that people are put into have little to no connection with how they were dressing or what they were saying or how they were walking or what their body looks like. No, it comes down to the fact that they are vulnerable in some way, be it money, be it funds, be it knowledge per se, because we all assume that someone knows what they're doing. If you're in university, I wanted to address that. You said people are looking for authorities to be their parents at school. I say totally no, because that's where the problem starts. You finish high school, you get to university, and you assume the way your teachers in high school were like your parents is the same way. Do you see the drift? Do you see the difference, the big difference now? Because now you're facing a lecturer who's asking for thighs for grades. Do you understand? So the big difference is now a girl or a boy seeing that person who they were looking up to as a parent talking about sexual favors. So I wouldn't want people to go into university hoping to get protection or the same
But
care.
isn't that what it should be about?
I don't think so, because there's no growth if you expect protection. I believe that your lecturers should just be guides. If they're helping you, they're guiding you to become an adult.
Because in every relationship there is supposed to be responsibilities and it's an expected way of engagement,
Exactly.
right? Just
Yes.
like you have a friend, there is a social expectation, a socially acceptable expectation, and lecturers, legally, as they are placed in institutions or authorities, as they are placed in institutions, they have a role that they are expected to fulfill, whether they like it or not. There is an expectation of society and also even business-wise, because a tertiary institution is kind of a business setup, right? Where we're coming in to get a service that this university is providing.
Yes.
So when that happens, there is supposed to be boundaries. So,
Exactly.
so maybe I hear you that you are probably helping the girl child to say, don't get in there expecting because it's
that
not
kind
there.
of it's
but
not
it
the same.
should be there.
It should be there,
Right.
but they're not all going to look at you as a child, because you're not a child anymore. You're growing up. You're becoming an adult.
Right.
Being in university, you can't look at yourself as a child. You're already a young adult. You're already facing making decisions for yourself, doing an assignment by yourself. In high school, you would wait for the teacher maybe to beat you up or to push you, right? But now you're being expected to make decisions by yourself, to be your own person. So I wouldn't want a young person going into uni now and expecting some sort of protection or people to be doing things for you. It's your job to look for information. It's your job to educate yourself, the same way you've gone there to look for education.
Right.
Because look at a school with 100,000 first years, right? You're one single 20-year-old, and how many, the ratio of lecturers or to peer guidance and counselors, it's not enough. We can't be expecting them to be responsible for each and every person.
No.
Do you understand?
I'm saying that. I'm not saying people should be babysat. No.
Yeah.
I'm saying, should you have a problem that is warranting the help of a school authority, must you not get it? Because it's not also every day, excuse me, that you're going to have problems. But should you have them?
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
Tanaka may also come in and share his own thoughts. But we also want to understand what happens to young people, especially young men, the sort of vulnerabilities that they're facing in tertiary institutions.
Okay, on the issue of school authorities and students, well, I do not have much to say because I haven't come across many issues concerning that. I hear it, but I haven't personally. But I want to say that I've seen sexual exploitation in tertiary institutions, and I want to bring up something. to the table.
Mm.
I think we should discuss that. The issue of blazers, the issue of nude pictures, leaked videos,
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, in Nisem Komana,
Mm.
we are facing that. You get in a relationship for 10 years not because you want to be in that relationship, but because you know that if you say no to that relationship, the picture which you took uchiri murudo is going to be leaked. This is exploitation which is happening
You're
every
telling me,
day.
boys. Okay, so what kind of are these relationships with people of the same age, or this a relationship with older women? What is it like?
In most cases, these are relationships with our fellow girls, fellow students.
Okay.
But then in rare cases, also with older women,
Mm.
which is exploitation as well,
Yeah.
because they'll be exploiting us, and it's happening. We're being exploited because of maybe poverty, because we want to dress like Justin Bieber or Kanye West, and we end up getting exploited. It's happening. So I want to say that there shouldn't be sexual exploitation. If I want to call it quits, it should be quits. Just kuzoti, I see my video trending per university.
My videos.
Well, kutora
in a
video
face
legally kutora video it's allowed because
It's not-
tese tine tabvumirana. Tese tabvumirana.
Nude
But kuti
photographing in
muzolika
Zimbabwe, I want to believe, is illegal. Taking nude pictures in Zimbabwe, that is part of creating pornography. It is illegal.
but it's between two people.
Yes, and that is illegal, in my understanding.
Okay.
In the maybe should I not be correct? Why do you still take with a photo or with your face on it? Are you not also being irresponsible? Yatambotaura earlier on pa nyaya tachitora nyaya yema rights anouya nema responsibilities. Kuti wewe uri murudo unochizoti uchabreaka apo ndizvo zvimwe uri mature keyo, you are above 18 to play out scenarios.
Like I was saying,
Okay.
you can't assume everyone is at the same level of maturity, whether their age or what.
But that is a responsibility.
Exactly.
It is ignorance, something that can be excused even at law.
No. Ignorance is not bliss. The assumption that someone knows, now that's ignorance itself. Do you understand where I'm coming from? If you assume that this person is supposed to know that's illegal, like you said, maybe he didn't even know that it was illegal. Do you understand? But you're like, nah, it's illegal.
But that is something that you're actually excusing that ignorance.
I'm not excusing it on his part, but I'm saying if you go into a court of law,
Yeah.
and you're just assuming that you should know. That is not enough.
If
Where's
it
the
is a law,
information?
you should know.
Exactly.
The law expects you
We're
to know the
expected to
law.
know it because we're young
Yes.
adults. Going back to when I was saying, given I'm trying to work with first years because this is the first part you get to uni, you get to see all this, right? When munhu anogona kusvika panapa ndo zvinototambika kuti kana uchitoda mamarks kalecturer ningi ndo zvatori. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Kuti uri first year, you have no information about that school. But wasvika wakutoudzwa kuti ndo
But my schools
zviripo.
are split up my orientation, and I want to believe also this is part of course.
Orientation
this
happens. Yes,
Yeah.
that's where I'm getting to. Orientation does happen, but how many students really pitch up? How many students really want to know? Of course, those programs are set up. Everyone is expected to come to orientation. Everyone is expected to come and learn, right? But how many are pitching up for orientation? Orientation
Do you know why I am tempted to want to strongly talk about responsibility that young people must take?
Exactly.
You cannot then come and say, oh, I don't know because I didn't pitch up for
Exactly.
orientation. When orientation was
Exactly.
created for you to
Exactly.
come and be educated.
That's what I'm saying. To assume they know is not.
I'm not assuming.
Yeah.
I'm talking
So I'm
from
trying
a
to-
position of responsibility to say,
Exactly.
how are we going to end exploitation, Tanaka? Is it not important that young people take responsibility to protect themselves
It's
so
important.
that you end the exploitation? Because
Exactly.
Tikaramatri my victims,
So that's why I say
Okay.
people should pitch up to be educated.
and they're not pitching.
Exactly.
I think we can be responsible, but then if the vouchers do exist, because it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
We can deal with the students, but if we do not deal with the perpetrators,
Yeah,
we are not doing anything.
absolutely.
So I think we should tackle both the victim and the perpetrators.
Let
the
the
victim
victim-
should be responsible.
Yeah,
But
and
at times,
being empowered with the information.
Exactly.
Like she said.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, but I think
No, you're okay.
for exploitation to happen, right?
Yeah.
Kune chinhu chinonzi kunyengerwa. Kana uchinyengerwa, you may not know it.
Mm.
And unotosvika pakunyengerwa, wotoitwa that thing, but you've been exploited. So I think first of all we should look at the perpetrators.
Yeah.
Kuti if they are lecturers, kuti they should know that it's their responsibility to look after us.
Mm.
Not just because
But
students.
one.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Atisi vana per se, but we are not fully grown ups. So we cannot say that taukwanisa kuita zvinhu zvese tega. We can be reckless. And it doesn't mean that the lecturer afanira follow suit. The lecturer should actually tell me kuti aiwa izvo wapfeka izvi izvi in my office it can't. So that next time handidzoke ndakapfeka izvozvo. But if the lecturer doesn't tell me, indinototi lecturer ari kunakirwa nezvandakapfeka. So I'll come back next time. No, I'm saying not to. Yes, I think in most cases musikana anotoenda ane that idea yekuti maybe lecturer
above 18-year-olds. So at some point these girls need to take responsibility, don't you think?
But professionalism pakati apa lecturer akagara
Is it
ataura
not two ways
maboundaries.
to take kuti musikana azoti ari kuuya kuchikoro and then lecturer ari kuuya kubasa? Because we are dealing for the most part with above 18-year-olds.
Definition yechild,
It's below 18.
it depends. Kuti
No,
ndiani ari
it
kutaura.
depends.
No. I think you mean maturity. I think you mean maturity. Like I say,
Definition of
you may be
child,
20,
yeah.
you may be immature.
It might be 25.
But you're not a child.
It might be 25.
Mutemo not 18 to
Okay.
Yeah.
We can't bend the law because you want to decide to be immature.
You're not a child. You're
Mutemo
immature.
18.
That's the
Like
difference.
the adulthood and you maturity. You
Okay.
can
be an
you can
immature
mature
adult.
later.
Okay, you can be exploited by someone who is powerful than you.
That is
right?
true.
That is very true, right?
Whether you're 30
So
years
if
old.
we're saying that
Yes,
you're
even at 60.
if we're saying
Yeah.
that you're more powerful than me,
Yeah.
and then I'm 22, I'm not a child, but you're powerful.
Yes. That is
It means that you have money, you have
Yes.
influence over me,
Yeah,
so you
even
can
my
exploit
type for a
me.
mark
We
here.
should deal with you, not with me.
Absolutely. I agree. I think you do raise a lot of important issues when you talk about, yes, because age, of course, I said, vulnerability, kuti you are still a student around pass. A scenario, and it would be prominent.
Yeah.
Then he's going out of his way kufailisa iwewe. Saka Twitter say, panama problems are tried and felt. I see problem ekuti student they are problem. Nyaya iripo ndeyekuti ari kutorwa advantage of. Saka imuruda kuona chichichitika ma young people. What are some of the things that you yourselves can begin to do? I think in the next episode we'll also begin to get into the issues of policy. But for now, what are the simple things that you guys would want to see when we begin to deal with these issues? Zviriko zvatotaurwa. Matotaura ma students sexual exploitation iri rampant. Iriko a time for a mark. Ndanichizoda kunzoti tanaka as we end the show uchada kuti chii ma young people ma lecturers kune ma female lecturers vari kukubatai izvozvozvo muwambo. I think wataura kwakati mashoma, maybe we can get a scenario or two, but she wants to come in.
Yeah. Like we were saying about knowledge, information is power, information is key. A student, like I was saying, you're not going to go to those and because you don't want to find out for yourself, you are comfortable with that information from your peers and like I know. By the moment you tell that person, I thought this is how it's done. So I want young people out there to want to be educated, to want to know things. Because I may preach and preach and preach about your sexual and reproductive health rights, but if you don't want the information and you don't want to learn, you're still vulnerable. and you're prone to being abused and exploited. Yeah. So I just want people to want to learn about themselves and what, exactly, to be responsible for your own self.
Right.
You know, because if a lecturer approaches you but you don't know that you have a right to a certain thing, exactly, you just saying those people.
Saka iwewe usati waenda, as a wataura kuti you've been working in this work for a long time as a peer educator. Zvizvo ndakuudza munhu zvataurwa naTanaka kuti sexual exploitation toriko. Yambotaurwa naChido earlier kuti dzimwe nguva unotonzi etai for a mark. Wanonyo and wakuzwa kuti this is your second chance or the last chance in that module.
Yeah.
What do you do as a young person the first time you feel waitwa disadvantaged, wamakirwa ndo vachamaka wokuzwa kuti wafaila? How also do we treat nuances where young people then don't akangonzi nasendo kuda over haazoregedze kuita ma-assignments because anozoti vanondida vachaiyo kana havandipe ma-marks but ndokunotozongonochallenge kuti baba vakambondida saka vari kundinyimire ma-marks, because I think I've read a story like that yekuti manuances ekuti munhu, I think yakaitika kune one of the tertiary institutions in Zimbabwe, manuances ekuti zvoni mwana pamwe anogona kutotanga kutadza kuita serious because baba just because se vakamboti ndokuda vakangonditadza ndikangofoira chete pamwe usina kutonyatsoverenga ndikangofoira chete ndakutoti
for that kind of a relationship there was never black or white on that issue. Yeah. Because when they were enjoying each other, they were happy.
No, they were never in a relationship.
They were never in a relationship. But she didn't agree or what. I'm pretty sure that if that issue was to be raised, the first person to be looked at is the lecturer who approached her. Why did you do that? They are not allowed to have sexual relationships with girls. So as much as she takes the issue to her advantage and so forth, that's something wrong in the prolonging of that issue, right? But at first we look at the lecturer. Why did you approach the child? So it means she's immature and she, those are actions done by a person who's not really reasoning. So the problem still ends up with the lecturer.
Because we also want to then say, I agree with you, Pakuti. The fact that watoviringa mwana ari pachikoro watomisa musituation yekutohambofunga kuti pamwe nyangwe ndikashingirira baba vachangondifoirisa, you understand? Beta ndibve ndatongozvitora. So well, we wanted to come back to the issue yekuti what are the remedies yekuti ndikuzoti nini ndikutozoti ndakashanda nesimba zvekuti baba vakafita kundifoirisa.
I think on that issue I would advise students to report as soon as that thing happened. So that ukazoenda noripota kuti ndafoiriswa because of this, unomirirwa kunzi wakambouya and reported kuti baba vaita sei vakuudza.
That is powerful.
But if you go manje after 3 months, what I failed because this lecturer once proposed to me. Now it becomes difficult to deal with that situation because the lecturer can easily say, I don't know that. She's making this up. So I think as soon as it happens,
because also kana waita basa rako your work yaita inogonototasa kuti pane disadvantage yetwere, but please continue.
Then also I think after I report, right, we might like to dismiss it, but then it happens. If I report maybe Mr. Dewe,
that's not it.
I know, it's just an example. It's an example. That's why I say Dewe.
Absolutely, yes.
So if I report Mr. Dewe, maybe Mr. Dewe plays with Mr. Damba. Now Mr. Damba hates me because I've reported his colleague.
Yes.
So I think the school should keep our names anonymous.
Wow.
If we report.
Yes.
No, they shouldn't make it an issue there and there. Or even tell everyone the issue, because she knows what's getting. I remember I have 6 modules and now 1. And we reported one colleague, maybe on our So I think at first we should have maybe per each institution, which we should have maybe friendly officer. You
don't have that?
I do not know my institutions, but I think they do. They do have. But so you report.
But the question can be how friendly is it friendly? But
Yes.
please continue, yeah?
So you report your case. After reporting your case, they just record. Maybe they do not take immediate action.
Yeah.
When it gets to the point that it was a failure now, they can now go to the records.
To the
What you know,
records,
kuti, is it
Mana,
because no
yeah.
issue zvakaitika? I think that can be the
I
solution.
think that is powerful. I hope young people in tertiary institutions, you are hearing these powerful things. Unongoenda unorecord, unorepota nyaya yako, the so and then maybe also insist on seeing somewhere where it's been written. Kuti izvoni nyaya yako yatorekodwa, there is now a record mo file. So that should you have query kuti I feel like I've been disadvantaged, my marks up, they can always refer. Not to say maybe unokurongo wakatofoero zvako, but I think that due process can be allowed. What are your last words, guys, before we go to the break?
Well, I would like to say that on that note of reporting, let's support each other.
Right.
Let's not stigmatize girls who have gone through that.
Yeah.
They're already going through enough. Let's not stigmatize boys who are going through that, right? Because more or less, if you see a situation or if you hear an issue like that,
Right.
the man always goes free in 3 weeks or less than a month. The issue blows over. But you'll be walking around campus and people will be pointing, oh, that's the girl, you know, that's the girl who's on why. So let's just try and help each other, help support each other grow, educate each other, discuss things with your friends. I once asked someone how many times they talk about rape with their friends. This was a man. And he asked me, how many times do you talk about theft?
Wow.
So I hope you get what I'm trying to say by discussing. I didn't say go and tell your friends don't rape. No. Discussing these issues
Just
can
having a
actually bring up,
conversation.
you know, it's wrong. As long as that point of being wrong is raised, you've done a part in helping that people should not be raped, women should not be abused or exploited. Just get into the conversation. Do your part.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tanaka.
Lastly, I would like to say that young people should not be ignorant, and a journey of 1,000 steps yakatotanga ne1. So if you report and doesn't work, you have motivated someone. Next time that someone will report, and at the end of the day will get or will achieve what we want.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I think one of the key things university students could do, what these young people are saying, is that let us have, you know, let's believe the victim. Let us speak out against the abusers. When you hear a story, believe the victim. So don't dressing is irrelevant. Kana takutora pamutemo chapo it's irrelevant. Ukaona munhu akadresa zvisiri izvo, what you could do is kutombatsira maybe kana achitonzwa chandomupa chekupfeka. You cannot then take that as an invitation to abuse. It's never an acceptable excuse to violate, to harass someone. Why do you get yourself in the mode yekuabuser instead of the mode yekubatsira kana kusiyana nemwana wevanhu? So what we are hearing is from students that ngatibatane students, both male and female, mukatonzwa kuti mwana nhingi akaita so, go after the perpetrator. Kana kuri kutonyora maposters pachikoro, I think what we need a culture in Zimbabwe, a change in culture, is a culture that shames my perpetrators. With this, we're taking a quick break. Do not go away. Stay with us.
Fonera say what go center. Say what go center, mommy. Fonera say what go center. Fonera say what go center, mommy. You know what's your venture to give it go. But don't ever from my son. Fonera pona Sunday. But you wanna go find your son.
Welcome back to the Lens. Tikutaura nyaya inopisa, nyaya sexual exploitation and abuse in tertiary institutions. Right now, I have more young people in the studio. Would you guys introduce yourselves?
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Tanatswa and I'm a student.
Thank you, Tanatswa.
Hi, Nyeri, is it?
Yes.
My name is Aniso Humphrey Kumira, and I'm a student as well.
I'm offended that you don't know me.
My apologies. Definitely.
No, you're good. So ladies and gentlemen, the issue at play. Your thoughts?
I think it's very important for us to differentiate between the students that are actually exploited and those that actually seduce the lecturers.
Wow.
Because the issue at hand is about those that are abused. Yes, there are those that seduce, and it's wrong, it's not right. But our main focus is on these that are being abused, these that are being violated. They don't have a choice, they are cornered. And I really loved the last segments and how the students kept on using the term perpetrator.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe these people, men or women, are predators. Perpetrator makes it seem like so soft, but they are predators.
Right.
When you choose to exploit a student, you have calculated that
Yeah.
if I see kuti Tanatswa arikwana 45%, Tanatswa anogara pa second row. Nomuti Tanatswa chimbouya ka ku office kwangu after lunch totaura. Already watoona kuti Tanatswa hausi kukwanisa statistics. Tanatswa uda kutobatsirwa nema calculations. Ndauya ndagara oti saka Tanatswa nyaya iri papa ndebe kuti ufurire mberi ka unotondoona musi weSaturday muroom chakati. And I'm there
That's
sitting.
dubious.
Yeah.
That is dubious suggestion. Why Saturday in a certain room?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not during the learning times? Wow.
Exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, but why can I do? Why is he saying this to me? And then I say, okay, who can I go report to? Who will I tell? Who will protect me? Because this lecturer is friends with the chairperson. The chairperson is friends with the dean of social whatever,
Wow.
dean of students. Who is there to protect me? And I think that's why we even have student representative council in these institutions. This is when they are supposed to play their role.
And do
This
you
is when
feel
they're
like
important.
it's accessible? The students' unions or students' associations, are they being useful like that?
Unfortunately, they're not being used for that. I think that this is a whole other discussion, but I think them
Well,
being...
I think it's an opportunity for those who work with tertiary institutions to maybe train them.
I take life as I'm a student of life.
Yeah.
You need to learn to end something.
Absolutely.
Definitely. There's enemy in learning,
Yeah.
right? Both figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
So when you learn something, you have to earn something out of it. So when you have the knowledge to say sexual exploitation is your rightful discussing here.
Yeah.
Once you know about it, when it happens to you, when the act happens to you, don't shy away and say,
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
Put it out.
We should never have men or women that want to abuse students in
Yeah.
a tertiary institution. They should not be there. If we do find them, they need to be removed. We should not cover up for them. And that's the scary part, that if you even go and report, will the matter go anyway? Who else do I need to involve?
I'm
do
happy to not this question
do I
because
need
I am talking to tertiary leaders soon.
Yeah, who else will I report to?
Yeah.
Because if I go to the chairperson, because that's the first person I go to, and the chairperson just says, Atanato, we'll see what we can do. But I can see that the chairperson is not doing anything. That's when we see our SRC coming into place. That's when we see that person who's in charge of, if it's gender, if it's what, those offices that they hold. That's when I come to you. If I'm coming to Chido, and Chido is the SG for gender for ladies, and I say, Chido, I was abused. I want us to take this to the Dean of Students. I want us to take this to the Vice Chancellor. Even if it means I'm going to write an article and post it, we cannot have predators in institutions, because institutions are not jungles.
Wow.
Preach, sister.
Parajit, you have anything to add to this? Beautiful.
Maybe just to throw in a spanner again. Tanaso mentioned something about SRC. I think when it comes to SRC being that bridging the gap between the authorities and the student body, there shouldn't be any influences.
There should be what?
There should not be any influences from, should I say, responsible people or the authorities, right? When it comes to that.
Okay.
Because once you have influences within the SRC, the student body, the student representative council, you're actually not representing that student who is affected.
You know, Tanaka touched on issues of blessers. Do you know there are some students, I'm in part 1-1, Anesu is in part 2. I met Anesu during orientation, and Anesu comes to my room and says, and Anesu knows my situation. He knows, how vulnerable I am. Maybe I don't have money, maybe I don't have what. And Anesu says, Tanato, it's a Friday, come and let's what?
Yeah.
Let's go out, chichi, I'll help you out. Tengera maputi, tengera donut, jumbo panchi, chichi, tanasko ndafara. Hezo anesa to striker get diri na umwe babo kwa striker apiwa mari kuti amutsvagire musikana. Inini ndoenda na Aneso. I don't and I don't know.
That's illegal.
It's illegal. Ndoenda na Aneso, and this is happening in our institutions in Zimbabwe. Ndoenda na Aneso. Ndasvika handina mota asikana tanato tomonzosotita
there's a rule that I learned a long time ago. Kuti uchenda out famba nemari yekudzokesa. Wangoti ndikuda kuenda out, always have your plan B on you, so that you're not at the mercy of anybody else. But yeah,
ndaenda ndasvikako anasototeresa zviri pabaka uyu murume weka urutozarara naye ndozi rutozongoitika kana kuti kutozobatwa naye hamheno zvakachaita naye, and there's no way of fighting it. And sometimes these young women then fall, you know, for this, and they're abused. They fail to report. Who do you report to? Ndaenda naAnesu willingly, naAnesu because ndakamuzia, and then ndasvika ikoko even if I come back and I tell kana matron or the munhu wehostel anongonitaridza ngoti magara mandozva munoita ma-students, you know, especially the authority. And I'm glad that we have the authorities. You're going to talk to them because the way they interact with students has to be different. If a student reports that I've been abused, don't look at what I'm wearing. Don't have this whole thing of students, that's what you do. Or students, when you're walking like this, you're trying to seduce us. No, don't have that in place. They really need to just be, what's the word? Have
allow or believe
exactly.
students. So I think this has just been so amazing on all levels. Not many, but all levels. I think for me, what is more powerful is having young men being articulate about the issues of abuse. So just as you end, Anesu, I want you to focus on young men and what young men can do to stop abuse on themselves, exploitation abuse on themselves, as well as how they can be allies of girls. When they hear a girl has reported a case or whoever is being exploited, what role can progressive work young people do to end exploitation in school? The same for you, madam. Speak to the girls and speak to the men, to the young men.
Well, thank you very much, Nyari, for that question. Well, addressing or giving advice, should I say, to my fellow peers. Well, I'll always touch back to what we were discussing earlier. You mentioned something to say when you're going out, you have to be enough, have enough money for yourself before you think of taking care of tenants, right? So in that sense, you have to know yourself. Who am I? What do I do? How do I behave when I'm in this situation? And coupled with the knowledge that I'm having of sexual exploitation, how do I then behave when I'm in these situations? And so when I'm taking Tanazo out, say I'm going to QOH or Kinofats for lunch, right? She doesn't have to.
Noted.
She doesn't have to kuvundu, right?
Yeah.
But I have to be, when I'm comfortable myself, then she's comfortable. She knows she's safe. But can I need to then I'm like, we'll see me. You know what? I'm being dodgy somehow.
Yeah.
You pick it up.
Yeah.
And for young men, don't be like that. Be yourself. Be comfortable with yourself. Once you're comfortable with yourself, you know that she's got her own rights. If she says no,
it is a no.
If she says no, definitely, it's a no-go area. Stay in your lane. Just be cool. Stay in your lane. No. It's not bad. I used to know my shoes rest. So yeah, just know yourself and be you. Don't try to impose yourself to say because I've got this and so therefore you're good. I think I need something. No. If she's not interested, then you speak about seducing. So yeah, I got to know. No is a very good word, and you need to pay attention to that. Absolutely. So when a person says no, or you're looking to say I need to give someone to get something, that's expectation. Yeah, you have to say no to yourself.
Wow.
Ooh. That's my life. Those are my words. Thank you.
Men like this are still available in Zimbabwe, and they are leaders, and we are happy to have them on the line. telling
They're
you.
young ladies
And I
next to
totally
them.
like what he says. It actually brings me to the point that I really was struggling to say. There's a point I wanted to speak into, Tsitsi, that you raised earlier on. The issue this someone is your boyfriend. Akukoka kwenda kupimp. Wazoyenda, wadzoka ku university, you want to report. So there was studies that have been done show that more than 74% of my cases of violence actually happen in intimate relationships. Boyfriend, actually majority of rape cases happen through boyfriends. So just because someone is your boyfriend, even if the whole world knows that Ernest is your boyfriend, for example, he's your boyfriend, it does not mean. No, I'm not saying that. You shall not touch this child ever. It does not mean that if he touches you or he rapes you, it's if you come back and report, everyone must believe you. Whether someone is your husband or your boyfriend, did you know that husbands can rape their
They
wives?
can. Very true, Nyari. I just want to say that setting boundaries is the first step to protecting yourself. And I want every student to be aware of that. You need to understand the boundaries that are in place. You need to know how a lecturer and a student interact. Just like how you need to know how a father and a daughter interact.
Absolutely.
How a boyfriend and a girlfriend interact and where the boundaries are. There are certain things you cannot do to a male lecturer. We should not have lions on campus. I completely agree. I completely understand.
The lions were
But-
saying lecturers who are abusive or who are exploitative.
Exactly. We should not have those people on campus. But at the same time, you are a student, you are above 18, you're an adult, you know how biology works. You know that there are hormones, you know that there's a man. There are certain things. Let's say you're a male lecturer. Auntie, tawana na tichifamba na.
I'm here. I'm a male.
Let's say you're Metawana Chifamba. There is no way, man. I cannot just come and say, Mr. Ninki, Mr. Ninki. You know, you should not do that.
The boundaries.
Understand the boundaries, where the boundaries are, where the boundaries should be, and protect yourself. Have the knowledge. Schools should also orientation. It's very. I don't know about other universities, but it's very unfortunate that sexual exploitation is not even said on orientation. I'm
For
a
the
good
most part.
student. Yeah, I'm a good student. I go to orientation, and I've been to like every single one. Not that I always want to be with ones, no, but you know, responsibilities force you to attend every orientation.
Thank you for the clarity.
Yeah, and they never talk about sexual exploitation. Never. So schools need to talk about it. Lecturers themselves need to talk about it and say, "Vamwe vedunga tisaite is really wrong." They need to tell each other amongst themselves, and they need to tell the students so that they're empowered. So that if a student does something to them, if a lecturer does something to them inappropriate, they know. They are not confused. They don't have the doubt, and they can report very well informed. Because these are my rights. They've been violated, and I want you to do something about it. And if you don't, best believe I'll make noise about it.
And when someone makes noise about it, you better be one of those to support that noise.
Exactly.
Because if it's one person making noise, it's ignored and she becomes victimized and all that. So I think this is also something powerful that we raised earlier to say, I think you guys who are here, I think you need to recruit your 10 or 20s or 30s, people who are on fire like you at every campus. So much so that when you hear a story, you're the ones who run with it, who begin to rally, to hold accountable, to make noise, to raise my placards. Kutinya ibude. Also, but kuna ma social media platforms. Munongo shanisa, munongo richa na identities media, munongo richa a lot of my media houses who are on social media. I just see an excuse near the subboard.
Once you're speaking, another spanner.
Right.
Media, social media is the one that's propelling exploitation. I'm there. Thank you.
I think we will need to have a conversation around the abuse of media in another episode. But until next time, this has been fun. This has been great conversations, talking to students on sexual exploitation and abuse at universities. And this is coming to us from organization with the support of UNFPA through the Spotlight Initiative. Have a good one.